Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, new studies claim substance and vaping use is becoming a major issue among kids in schools. And the former publisher of the National Enquirer returns to the stand in former President Trump's New York criminal trial, facing more cross-examination from Trump's lawyers.
Plus, we are tracking some showers this evening, but drier and warmer weather is on tap for this weekend. Your forecast coming up as Mountain News at 5:30 starts now.
Dedicated to Southern and Eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. New studies show a serious problem with both vaping and substance use among kids in schools, and there is a direct correlation with mental illness. WYMT's Phil Pimbleton spoke to police and a child psychologist about the issues.
London police say they have been called to schools to investigate serious situations because of vaping.
We've had several instances where EMS has been called to schools, and it actually comes out as overdose calls, but it turns out that, you know, it was more related to vaping.
The Student Advisory Council with the State Department of Education recently discussed a study from Infinite Campus showing substance use among elementary kids has increased 475%. It's increased 281% among middle school students and more than 100% among high school kids. A psychologist we spoke with says hurting kids are looking for something to ease their pain.
Temporarily, you feel great, which is why you want to use it. But of course, those substances only last so long in your system. And then, of course, you want to hide that feeling again, so you use again, and that's on the road to possible addiction.
And some of the kids on the Student Advisory Council say they believe that kids are picking up bad habits from adults, parents even, others that they see using these substances to get through their bad days, thinking that, well, if it works for them, it's going to work for me. Police say there's serious consequences, and doctors say kids need to know that there is a better way.
It's very dangerous and it affects people differently, but you know, there's just not enough studies being done about it to know the full-term effects about what this is going to do to your body.
I think it's more beneficial for people to acknowledge that it's a tough time and to say, yes, substances could be your answer, but there's probably a better answer. And let me show you, or let me get you to a mental health professional.
Dr. Floral says bottom line, it's simply a mistake for kids to want to medicate themselves. Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
Kentucky lawmakers passed House Bill 142 this year that deals with school boards adopting more preventative and treatment programs for students caught with vaping or other substances. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee has signed the bill allowing teachers and staff to carry guns on school campuses. Teachers who want to carry have to meet certain training and background requirements, but even with the rules, it's law enforcement and the school administrators who will have the final say. Several rounds of protests have been held at the Capitol as the legislation made its way through. Student protests on college campuses about the Israel-Hamas war are increasing. More than 100 demonstrators have been arrested at Columbia University in New York. The University of Southern California has canceled its main stage graduation ceremony due to the protests. In Columbus, Ohio, police clashed with protesters at Ohio State University just hours after they gathered there yesterday. 36 people were arrested from the protests at Ohio State.
We are tracking some light showers this evening, so if you have those plans to close out your Friday, you may need the umbrella up on First Alert Pinpoint Doppler. Zooming into a few light showers from Rockcastle County, pushing close to downtown London for Laurel County, also moving into parts of Jackson and Clay counties at this hour. And same story for far southeast Kentucky, also southwest Virginia, from Lee County moving into Harlan, also Leslie counties, and a few more light showers in the Big Sandy Valley close to downtown Pikeville, also moving into Buchanan, also Dickinson County at this hour. No severe weather in our region, but we are tracking a big severe weather event over parts of the Midwest from Nebraska pushing into Kansas, also Oklahoma and Texas. And check out the watches and warnings just off to our west. Now, some good news for us. We have no severe weather issues in our region. Maybe a stray shower tonight, but for most of us, we are drying out to go into the overnight hours. And those lows are mild to wake up in the morning. Most of us see upper 50s to lower 60s. And that mild weather is set to continue this weekend. We see highs back in the middle 80s by tomorrow, also on Sunday. More details on that weekend forecast coming up in just a little bit. Steve?
Cameron, thank you. The first witness in former President Donald Trump's historic criminal trial in New York completed his testimony after several days on the stand. Trump is accused of falsifying business records in connection with a so-called hush money payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels. CBS's Bradley Blackburn reports from New York.
Former President Donald Trump returned to court Friday afternoon after defense attorneys finished cross-examining former National Enquirer publisher David Pecker. Trump's lawyer tried to cast doubt on Pecker's credibility, questioning his memory and trying to make him seem inconsistent. During his days-long testimony, Pecker explained how he and Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, worked together to catch and kill negative stories about Trump during his 2016 presidential campaign. Trump denies any wrongdoing.
It's a rigged trial. Terrible.
Trump faces 34 felony counts of falsifying business records. Prosecutors allege he funneled so-called hush money payments through Michael Cohen to adult film star Stormy Daniels before the 2016 election.
I personally think they've got an uphill battle. They would have the jurors believe that simply an agreement to influence the election with this catch and kill practice is in and of itself illegal, but it's not. They're going to have to go the extra step of proving that federal campaign finance law violation.
Trump's former executive assistant, Rona Graff, was the next witness to take the stand. During his testimony, Pecker said he saw Graff handing invoices to Trump, which he'd review and sign. Earlier, the former president shared other complaints about the proceedings.
It's very cold in there, on purpose, I believe.
And he expressed frustration that the trial is keeping him from celebrating his wife Melania's birthday. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
The former president also said this morning that he listened last night to Thursday's U.S. Supreme Court arguments about his immunity case. Trump said the argument was brilliant and he thought the justices' questions were great. Both President Biden and former President Trump have agreed to debate ahead of this year's election. In an appearance on the Howard Stern show today, President Biden said he would be happy to debate Trump. It's the first time the president has said explicitly that he would debate Trump in this election cycle. Trump responded on Truth Social, suggesting several dates the two could debate, including at the courthouse tonight while he is in New York for his hush money trial. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is thanking the U.S. and its allies for sending weapons, but says he also urgently needs more air defenses to defeat Russia. The impassioned message came ahead of the virtual Ukraine Defense Contact Group meeting today.
We urgently need Patriot systems and missiles for them. This is what can and should save lives right now. And you can imagine what our soldiers feel when they simply have nothing to respond to enemy fire.
Zelensky's address comes just days after President Biden signed a supplemental aid package into law approving about $61 billion in aid to Ukraine. South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem is defending killing a dog and a goat on her family farm. The actions were described in her upcoming book, according to The Guardian, which quoted excerpts. She wrote she killed her dog Cricket because the dog was untrainable and dangerous to anyone she came in contact with. She killed the goat for similar reasons. Noem responded to the Guardian article on social media, writing her actions were not unusual on a farm. Tennessee and 16 other states have filed a lawsuit against the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission because of a new rule that requires employers to accommodate workers getting an abortion. The rule is under the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, which provides a variety of protections, including time off, light duty, and food and restroom needs. Officials say the new rule does not require employers to provide paid time off for the abortion procedure. Yesterday's surprising reversal of Harvey Weinstein's 2020 sexual assault conviction is sparking some fierce reaction. His lawyer says Weinstein did not receive a fair trial, but those who helped launch the Me Too movement are outraged. While the disgraced movie mogul remains in prison serving a 16-year sentence from a California case, New York's district attorney has indicated he will retry Weinstein. Ashley Judd was the first actor to come forward with claims of sexual harassment against Weinstein.
Courtrooms are not healing spaces. They are traumatizing spaces. And victims should not have to perform their trauma in order to find peace. You know, what will give us satisfaction and peace is when men stop raping women, period.
In overturning the 2020 conviction, the New York Appeals Court ruled 4-3 that reported victims who were not involved in the charges against Weinstein should not have been allowed to testify during the trial.